Alright, hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kat. I am 23 years old, gonna be 24 when you're watching this, and I do bodybuilding. I also do personal training and online training and all that kind of stuff. So, long awaited, I am now finally filming my full fitness journey, kind of like how I got into fitness, how I lost weight, like a backstory on my whole life pretty much, just everything you need to know. So this is gonna be kind of a long video, so prepare yourself, grab a snack, grab a drink, do what you need to do. Come back to this later if you don't have time. I'm going to share with you how I lost almost 100 pounds. I'm going to share with you guys how I got into fitness and how I lost weight, because it is a question that I get asked more than anything, is like how I got into it. So I'm just going to share it all with you. Hopefully I'll include some pictures too. I'm going to have to do some digging for these pictures because I'm going way back. So let's start at the beginning. I was always a chunkier kid. My parents got divorced when I was in, I think it was going into first grade or it was in first grade. Super young, they got divorced. And I lived with my dad because my mom traveled for a living. So I don't know how it is now, but single dads, you know how it goes. Frozen meals all the time, McDonald's almost every day, chips, snacks, you know, cool dad stuff, you know. This is my very first memory of ever having any sort of problem with my body in weight. It was, I want to say, first grade. And my dad had this car where if you sat in the front seat and you were over a certain amount of pounds, I want to say it's 100 pounds, but I'm not quite sure exactly what it was. But if you sat in the front seat and you were over that weight, the airbag would come on and there'd be like a light on the dash that would say airbag on. And if you were under that weight, it would say airbag off. So I would always scoot to the front of my seat and lean back like this. So then it wouldn't trigger the sensor and it would say airbag off. So it'd be as if I were under that weight. I was like 7 or 8 at this point and I was doing things like that. Like, that's so messed up because that your weight shouldn't matter when you're that young, but I guess it did to me. So I was always a bigger kid, not just like bigger, but like taller. In my kindergarten class, I remember walking into the room and the only kid that was taller than me was this one kid that got held back a year. So I was taller than everyone else. I have this picture, I want to say it was from 2nd grade though, it's from our school newspaper. If I can find it, I'll insert it or I'll put it on the screen. All the other kids were like this, and then there's me, like this. So I was always a bigger kid. It never really bothered me too much. I grew really, really fast, I don't know. But I stopped growing in elementary school. Another memory from about 2nd grade is I had a best friend at the time, and she was normal, like normal sized little 2nd grader. But of course, me being the big 2nd grader, we'd always play house and I'd always have to be the dad or the boy. And that bothered me so much. Cause I'd be like, well, why can't I be the girl? Or why can't I be the mom? Cause like obviously me being a little girl, I want to be the girl, not the boy. And she was like, it's because you're so big. And that just always really kind of stuck with me, I guess. Middle school honestly wasn't that bad. I was super, super athletic. I did track, volleyball, basketball, softball. So I was super athletic, still bigger than everyone else. So I was bigger than all the boys, of course. And like no boys wanted to talk to me because I was bigger than them. I was intimidating, but nothing really too bad happened in middle school. I was about honestly the size I am now. Actually maybe a little bit bigger. I was digging through doctor's records just to like figure out what weight I was at what age, and I think it said at like 13 or 14 I was about 145 pounds, and right now I weigh like 135 pounds. So I'm 24, so 10 years ago I was bigger than I am now, because I've been this height since middle school. I'm 5'8", so yeah. It's not like I was overweight at all, because being 5'8" and 145 pounds is normal, but I was still bigger than everyone else because none of my friends were 5'8". All my friends were like 5 foot. They haven't hit puberty yet. I hit puberty super early. So that was always something that like weighed on me, is I just subconsciously knew I was bigger than everyone else. And even though I wasn't fat at all, being just physically bigger still made me very uncomfortable. Didn't really get too bad until high school. My freshman year, I ended up quitting all of my sports to focus primarily on softball. So I was still kind of athletic, but high school is when my weight gain really started. My weight didn't necessarily bother me at this time at all. And at this point, everyone else was starting to go through puberty, so I didn't feel really out of place very much. So yeah, freshman year, nothing really too bad happened, but it is when I started to gain weight, because this is when things started turning not so good with like my mental health and everything, and that is going to be the big thing that led me to my weight gain, was my mental health. So my sophomore year, I played softball for fall. I didn't play summer softball my sophomore year because it's a very long story, but my fall softball coach, which was my school softball coach, was also my summer softball coach, which was my traveling team. Same coaches, and there was a situation with that. So I ended up quitting softball altogether my sophomore year, or after my sophomore year. So at this point, I was playing no sports anymore, eating as if I was still playing sports, and then some. So yeah, this is when my depression got really bad. And I'm not just saying like, oh, I was sad, or oh, I was depressed. No, like I saw therapists, I've took different kind of prescriptions and stuff. I was clinically depressed. It was not a good time. My sophomore and junior years of high school, those were probably the roughest times that I've ever been through. And yeah, that's when my weight gain really spiraled out of control, because my whole life I was an athlete. I ate like an athlete, which is just, when you're an athlete and a kid, you just eat everything because you're burning it all off. So I was eating that, and then I wasn't having those sport times, so I was eating on top of that when I was bored, and then it was emotional eating, and it was just like out of control. Like I would eat until I felt sick, and I don't want to say it was a binge eating kind of situation, because it wasn't like I binge. I would just always eat. If I was sad, I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna drown my tears in this bag of Doritos and 2-liter of Mountain Dew, you know? It was not good. And at this point, like I was overweight and I knew it, and it made my depression even worse. So having depression and then having weight gain because of depression, just making my depression worse, just making me gain more weight. So yeah, my weight gain was spiraling out of control at this point. I want to say my top weight, again looking through my doctor's records, was about like 220, 225. Yeah, so I have like pictures from that. I will insert however I please, or however I decide to, or however I can even figure out how to do. But yeah, so that was probably the worst it was with my my sophomore and junior years of high school. Let's just leave it at that. I ate terribly, and I drank Mountain Dew more than water. I don't even think I drank water at that point. So yeah, really not good. So I want to say it was probably my sophomore year, like just getting out of softball kind of stuff, I started trying to go to the gym. I would go and I would try to run on the treadmill, but a 220-pound girl trying to run on a treadmill doesn't really work the best. My knees were like hurting so bad. I don't know why I tried to do that, because I was an athlete. That's all I knew to do was run. So I'd do that, and I'd do some of the machines and do some abs, and that didn't happen very many times, but I tried. I did try for a little bit. I did go see a lot of doctors about my thyroid, because my mom was convinced something was wrong with my thyroid. But of course, there was nothing. Mom, I just ate like shit. Like, it wasn't very, it was pretty obvious that I just didn't eat very well, but she was convinced I had a thyroid problem. Your daughter's eating Mountain Dew and cake for breakfast. That's her problem. So, senior year of high school, I was in a better place mentally. I was gaining some good friends and everything like that, but the weight gain didn't change at all, because the friends I had were still like these girls with these really fast metabolisms that were just naturally skinny, and then I would eat like that. I remember me and my best friend, we would go out to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We would go to the grocery store, like get some snacks. I remember one night we had like a cupcake cake that we ate at night. Like, we would just eat so much, but like these girls could, because their metabolisms were just like so fast still. And me already being overweight and eating all this stuff and drinking all this soda, and not good. And then this is when I started drinking too. Like, sorry mom, you already knew. Senior year of high school, started drinking, and we all know drinking leads to weight gain, so that wasn't good either. I didn't necessarily gain a ton of weight at this point, but I didn't lose any, that's for sure. I was in a better headspace, which is my main priority anyways. Like, if I'm not good up here, I'm not gonna be good down here. So at least I was in a good headspace. I had a good amount of friends, and I was genuinely having a good time. Like, I enjoyed my senior year because of my friends, and I really did have a good time. Into college, I didn't really gain the freshman 15 because my eating habits really couldn't get any worse, but obviously didn't lose any weight either. Drinking heavily, let me add. I went to a state school. I don't remember very much of my first semester of college. You have a meal plan, so I wasn't eating very good. I was eating like Chick-fil-A, like Pizza Ranch, and I was a college kid, you know, but I didn't necessarily gain any weight at this point because, again, I couldn't really eat worse than I already was. So, yeah, but everyone always asks me what the turning point was for me, like what made me start losing weight, because this is my freshman year of college is when I started my fitness journey. And I want to chalk it up to two things, I think. I dated this guy for like literally a month. He was psychotic, don't even get me started on it. But as we were breaking up, he's like, you know what, you're so lazy, you're never gonna lose weight, you're never gonna go to the gym. And I was just like, well, fuck you, I am. So I don't necessarily say that was it because I didn't start then. I remember New Year's Eve I was at that best friend's house, and I stepped on her scale and it said 200 pounds. So I wasn't at my heaviest, and I wasn't obviously at my lightest, but it said 200 pounds, and I was like, okay, something has got to happen about this, because I was just so unhappy. Like, all of my friends were like with guys and like talking to guys, and I was just like, I'm always just gonna be like the fat funny friend. And obviously there's nothing wrong with that. Guys do not determine your happiness, but when you've never been asked to a dance, you've never had an actual boyfriend, you've never had a guy actually like you or think you're pretty, at least that's what I wasn't told that, you know, it's gonna affect you. So I was like, something's gotta happen here. So as cliche as this sounds, I really just think it was a New Year's resolution that worked. This is what I always get questioned about, is what I did when I first started. So, like I said, my eating couldn't get worse. So the thing I focused on the most, and the thing you should focus on the most when you are getting into a fitness journey, is your nutrition. I cleaned up my diet. So I stopped drinking completely. I cut back on drinking soda. That was probably the biggest thing for me because I drank so much soda again, but I did cut back a good amount. I ate healthier. So since I was on a college campus, I was limited to what I could have. Obviously, I could go out and buy groceries and cook them in the kitchen areas that we had, but that was kind of inconvenient. So I would just go to the restaurants on campus and pick healthier options. So my go-tos were like, at Chick-fil-A, I'd get the grilled nuggets versus like a sandwich and fries. And then we had Panda Express. So my one that I ate the most was I would get the, what is it? It's like the grilled teriyaki chicken with brown rice, and I would eat just that. And I would get like a burger, and I would eat like, this is so cliche because carbs aren't bad for you, but in the long run, it's the cutting down on calories that's gonna matter. So I would get a burger and I wouldn't eat the bun with it. Just stuff like that. So little things add up at the beginning of your fitness journey, especially when you are eating as bad as I was. little changes like that are gonna make a difference. On top of that, I did start going to the gym. Of course, I was a cardio bunny. I would go on the elliptical because I wasn't gonna run. Still can't make me run. I would go on the elliptical for like 30 minutes to an hour depending on how much time I had. I would go before class, and I just got really into the habit of doing that. I have a very, very addictive personality. So once I started seeing results from that, I was just like, let's do this. So I would go on the elliptical for about 30 minutes to half an hour and then go up and do some of the machines for a little bit, and that was working pretty well. I don't know the exact numbers. I can probably go back and look, and if I have some doctor's visits from that time, I'll put it on like the screen or something. But I want to say I got down to, by the end of my freshman year, maybe like 180. Hey guys, future editing Kat here. I just wanted to add in that I don't have any pictures really from my senior year of high school up until about 2016, which is after my freshman year of college, just because I discovered Facetune and I edited every single picture of my body. So yeah, don't do that. Maybe about 180, so I dropped about a good amount of weight, like 20 pounds or so, and I was feeling good and people were noticing. They're like, oh, what are you doing? All that kind of stuff. And that fueled my fire. Like, that's when I was like, maybe this is something I like. And then I went home from college and I worked a little bit. I had a Planet Fitness membership. I tried to go, but it was like on the other side of town. So I would go every so often. And again, people were noticing that I was changing. So I was still like into the fitness stuff, and I was eating healthier and was doing pretty good. But it wasn't perfect. I was still eating out. I would still drink soda every now and then. It wasn't perfect, but you know what? It's a lifestyle. It's not supposed to be perfect. You're not supposed to be on a competition prep diet from the get-go, from your 220 pounds all the way to your 120 pounds. It's not how it's supposed to go. That's not maintainable. That's not sustainable. And yeah, so I don't regret anything that I did. Could I have done things to speed up the process? Of course I could, but I was a 19-year-old girl living my life still. I don't look back and regret. I don't look back and say, oh, I didn't go out to eat for my friend's birthday because I was trying to lose weight. No, I still enjoyed myself. I still lived my life. Yeah. So July of 2015, which is, I started my fitness journey in January 2015. So July of 2015, I packed up everything I owned and moved across the country with my boyfriend. And that was kind of a hard time for me because I was living with his family that I didn't know very well, and I didn't have any friends out there, and I started to feel kind of depressed again just for being alone. But it didn't really affect things too much. I didn't get back into like my old habits or old ways. If anything, being by myself and being alone really helped me grow and become more independent and more mature. And if that part of my life didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am today. Obviously, I live with my boyfriend, but you know what I mean. So let's fast forward to the beginning of 2016. I started getting even more serious about my weight loss. At this point in time, I started doing BBG by Miss Kayla at CNS. I don't necessarily recommend this because I did lose a lot of weight, but I did get skinny fat. My nutrition wasn't bad, but I have pictures where I'd eat like chicken strips and ranch with strawberries. But that's still better than what I was eating. So always making progress. I think I cut out soda completely at this point. Wasn't really drinking any soda. I remember since it was when I first started getting serious in my, like actually serious in my fitness journey, January 2016, I weighed about 165 pounds. So over the course of the year, lost about 35 pounds, which it's not a lot, but it does make a difference, you know. So I was about 165 pounds, started doing BBG, and I dropped quite amount of weight at that point. And I moved out to California in August of 2016. And when I moved out here, I was about 145 pounds, maybe 150, but completely different body composition than I am right now. Because when I was doing BBG, I wasn't lifting weights. I was doing these little circuits where you do like squat jumps and then like abs and then X jumps and then like abs and then like reverse lunge jumps and then like abs, or like jump rope and then high knees. And just, don't even get me started. You couldn't pay me to go back to that. But yeah, so I was doing those circuit kind of style workouts for a while actually. So I started doing that probably at the beginning of 2016 and I did them all the way into 2017. Almost, yeah, into 2017. I didn't really start lifting weights until a quarter of the way into 2017. That's when I started switching over to, okay, now I'm skinny, but I still hate the way I look. I'm soft. I'm not toned at all. I was 135 pounds at this point, and I, again, looked completely different than I do right now. So my nutrition, I was vegan for a bit. Nothing against being vegan. I actually want to go back to being vegan once I'm off my prep. That's another story. But I was doing veganism the wrong way. I was just eating a lot of like, again, carbs aren't bad, but I was pretty much only eating a bunch of carbs. And then I would eat the junk food vegan items. It just wasn't the healthy way to do. I wasn't eating whole foods. I was eating these processed foods and just like a lot of rice. And so yeah, I was skinny, but I was skinny fat. So I was like, you know what? My butt concaves in, so we gotta fix this. So I started lifting weights. I remember I hated it at first. I saw all these girls lifting heavy, like doing deadlifts and squats, and I'm like, I want to be badass like that, but I can't lift weights. I don't know how. I don't know what I'm doing. So I just found things on Instagram and YouTube, and I went off that. I taught myself everything I know. So I started lifting weights 2017. This is when the bodybuilding started. I remember it was probably like, again, a quarter of the way through 2017. I'm like, I follow these girls on Instagram and they do bikini competitions and I want to do that. So I knew at that point I couldn't do a bikini competition because I had no muscle on me. I was just skinny fat. I did have muscle on me, but it wasn't enough to where if I dieted down, I'd look like a literal skeleton. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna bulk. I'm just gonna try to gain muscle. I'm just gonna eat the foods that I want to eat. And yeah, so I was vegan still as I was lifting weights. Again, not a bad thing. Kind of tracking macros, kind of not, kind of just eating and enjoying life. And I don't regret this part of my life at all. I was loving getting into lifting. I was just eating foods that I actually enjoyed to eat. I wasn't eating the healthiest, but I wasn't eating terrible. And yeah, so I did gain a fair amount of weight back, but what are you going to expect? You're gaining muscle. If you're gaining muscle, you're going to gain fat along with that for one, and two, muscle obviously weighs. So yeah, I gained a fair amount of weight back. I want to say I got back up to like the 160s, 170s. This was into 2018 now. So we're into 2018. I hit kind of a low point again in 2018 where I was working literally 5 a.m. to like 9 p.m. like all day long. I wouldn't eat all day and I'd go home and just slam food just to get in calories because I was so hungry. And I wasn't lifting that much because again, I was working all day. I didn't have time to lift. Even though I was working at a gym, I didn't have time for myself. So this was a point where I kind of felt myself slipping out of it again, but it wasn't that bad. I probably got up to like 170 at the highest. I don't even think I remember seeing 170. I think the highest I ever saw was 168. So again, I am 5'8". 168 isn't that bad, especially when you have muscle on your body. Because when I did lift, I'd lift heavy. Like I remember my deadlift PR at this time was like 315. Like I was hitting powerlifting status, you know? But then everything came together and literally my whole life changed when I started working with my coach. I hired a coach. Best thing I've ever done. I recommend anyone out there, whether you were 4 years in your fitness journey or you're just starting out, hire a coach. It's gonna cut your time in half. You're gonna not have to go through all the, oh, does BBG work? Does cardio work? Does dirty bulking work? Like, it's gonna cut all of that trial and error out and just like be like, get you from point A to point B pretty much. So hire a coach. Best decision I've ever done. I hired my coach, Nick Comedina. He's awesome. November 9th, 2018, hired my coach, started working with Nick, and we just started reverse dieting me at this point because I was kind of working with the owner of the gym that I used to work at, and he just was ruining my metabolism. He was putting on me like 50 carbs and like 90 grams of fat and like 225 grams of protein, just like these insane macros that my body hated. Like I got a sensitive stomach. Like I was, TMI, I was constipated constantly from all this protein, constantly bloated. It wasn't pretty. But then Nick fixed me up. So we reverse dieted for a while. I reverse dieted from November all the way up into March. March is when I started my prep. So that brings me to kind of the phase that I'm in now is my prep. I've been in prep since March. I don't know how many weeks it is. It's been a while. I haven't counted. It's in the 20s, but I'm loving every second of it. I have never been happier, and I've never felt more like I belong to something, or like never felt more connected to something, or more that it's like I just feel like this is what I should be doing, I guess, than competing in bodybuilding. And I just love it. You know, I know some people get into it and they feel like it creates kind of an eating disorder or an unhealthy relationship with food. I don't feel like that, honestly. I did a couple times throughout prep, but again, you're going to become food focused. And I will have many more videos to come on my prep, so this will be more in depth in maybe a separate video. But long story short, I've been in prep since March. I've done one show so far. I absolutely love it. Like looking back on pictures from that day, I get goosebumps, and it's just like I want to be doing this every day, you know. So I am now 3 weeks out from my next show, which I am so excited for, so ready. So look out for videos about that. I might have left things out. I hope I didn't. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please leave them below. I'd love to help anyone out getting started in their fitness journey with any questions that you have, because I always wished I had someone right there with me, like to ask questions, but I just figured everything out myself. So yeah, ask me any questions you have about my fitness journey or about your fitness journey, or just like anything you have. So like the video, subscribe, follow my Instagram, do what you gotta do, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.